Hello, everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Akin. I'm your host, Olivia Akin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We will give you real-life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top-notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Marques Ogden. Marques played professional football for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, and the Tennessee Titans. Marques is inducted into the Howard University Athletic Hall of Fame, is a published author, entrepreneur, keynote speaker, and the host of the top 1.5 most listened to podcast called Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. You can find Marques by going to his website, marquesogden.com, or by following him on LinkedIn by searching Marques Ogden. Hello, Marques. It's fantastic having you on the show. To start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Marques Ogden?
Hello, Olivia. Thanks for having me on. Success to me is in the eye of the beholder. It's living the life that you want to live, and it's your true, authentic self. It's you are not tolerating anyone to mistreat you, to not give you your fair shake, to get in the way of you achieving your success, your goals, your aspirations. And it's really about just being okay that everybody may not like you, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that you're going to have to conform to what everybody else wants you to be.
I think that's a key point that you just made. Not everyone is going to like you, and that is okay. Because a lot of people try to make everyone like them. They want to do what kind of fits in the mold or not make too much controversy. But especially in, finding your own path, as in being an entrepreneur or doing what you're passionate about, sometimes you have to make waves. You have to make that sound in the water just to do what you're passionate about. So I think that was a key point. Not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. Because once you adjust to that, you could be your best self.
Yeah, because then you're not living for everyone else. Then you're not trying to be what everyone else wants you to be. Like people said, Marques, why are you going after being a speaker? You're a football guy. You're an old lineman. You're an Ogden. Stay coaching. Don't try to go into keynote speaking. Don't try to write a book. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I think about what my life would have been like if I allowed people to tell me what to do. And where I'm at today with, our business and our brand and speaking and our podcast and so on and so forth, my life right now would be so much more miserable if I was just trying to do what everybody else wanted me to do.
Yeah. And let's touch upon that for a second. So you come from a family of football players. So growing up, what did football and playing football mean to you?
Olivia, football to me was a way for me to be with my friends. And of course, I idolized my older brother, Jonathan, who was a phenomenal football player, high school, college, NFL. And my father, our father, also played football at Howard University. So having him to lead us, again, not pressure us, lead us down the path of playing football, it brought our whole family very close. Me, my brother, and my father, we were actually raised by a single father. So for us, football was more than just the game. It was a conduit between, siblings and fathers and father and sons. And it was just a way of life for us to have a strong, very healthy dynamic and culture growing up in the Washington, D.C. area.
And you brought up something just now that's an interesting fact that most people don't know. Your father played for Howard. You were recently inducted into the Howard Athletic Hall of Fame. Your father is also inducted into the Howard University Hall of Fame. You're the only father-son duo to be in the Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you, knowing, you are in the Hall of Fame with your father? You're one of a kind in that aspect, and no one's done it. When you were being inducted, what did that kind of impact mean to you?
The impact it meant to me was my father always wanted me to do and have more than he had. So for me to go to Howard and play and then have a phenomenal NFL career and then being inducted into the Howard Athletic Hall of Fame, it was absolutely sensational because I literally thought my career, my football career that is, was over after high school. And then Howard came to the door, came calling, and they gave me an opportunity. And I was able to take the opportunity and make the most of it. And I focused on what I did best and I built off that. So being inducted was surreal. And not only that, my daughter, my 8-year-old, was able to be there and see her pop, because she calls my dad her pop's friends and Howard teammates and all that. So it was really a fantastic evening back in October in Maryland, being inducted into Howard's Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and you look at the posts you made that night, and it's so touching for your daughter to be able to see that and the legacies that her grandfather, that you were making, and especially what you're doing now. So you played professional football, but what was it like post football? Your career in football ended playing. What was the next step for you, and what was that journey like?
So the next step for me was really hard. For about 6 months, I was addicted to alcohol, gambling, painkillers, nightlife. I hadn't found that next phase of life. I hadn't found that next trajectory of what I was going to do with my life. So unfortunately, I got into some other issues with, again, addiction, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, I founded Caden Premier Enterprises, which became the largest African American subcontractor the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland for 2 years in site work. We were the site work kings, concrete demolition. But unfortunately, as the company grew, so did my ego. And it ended up costing me everything I owned in 2013 when I lost my business. I lost all of my money. I lost everything in 2013 because of my arrogance, my ego, my attitude. And I moved to Raleigh with $400 to my name. That is it. And I had to start completely over from scratch. And I worked at Merrill Lynch for a short time. I got fired, all my fault. Went to a construction company the next day, got fired from that job 5 days later, shut down their sales store. And the only job I could get, Olivia, was a custodian, making $8.25 an hour from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. And then I had my rock bottom spoiled milk moment of clarity where someone's trash, rotten meat, nasty protruding garbage over my body, my skin, and my clothes. And that was my wake up call to get myself going back on track. And that's what I did. And I said, let's become a speaker. Started the speaking business for 2.5 years, not one paid job. Got our first paid job finally in April 2016. Struggled more. Then I got hired again in 2017 by my good friend Marlon Kerner, who was a director of player engagement for the Buffalo Bills. Marlon brought me in to speak to his rookies, and he hired me for 3 years in a row. And that job in 2017 gave me the confidence that I needed to continue to move forward. And in the last 6.5 years since our first paid job, we've worked for now 47 Fortune 500 brands as a speaker. We have written 3 best-selling books. We're a consultant. We are a brand ambassador. We have a podcast, which is titled Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. Again, we're in the top 1.5% in the world, most listened to and most popular podcast. We have been streamed now in 38 different countries in 4 months. But again, the struggle for me after football was all because my mindset had not transformed from being a football player to corporate America. And once I made that mental transformation, that's when things got better.
I think you brought up a key point really at the end. That whole story was really impactful. And I think sometimes people forget, especially as a athlete, that it's not everything you see on the television screen. The athletes have ups and downs too. They're human. They're on a journey, and not all celebrities and athletes. It's what you see on that, 2-3 hour gameplay. There's so much more that goes into it, and life after football or any kind of sport, it's a journey, and you have to go through that journey. One thing you brought up there is you have to hit that moment. You have to have your own self-realization. No one could do it for you. So when you had that moment and you said, I'm going to become a speaker, and you weren't getting paid jobs at that time, what kept you going?
I had a passion of wanting to help as many people as I could not make my mistake. My why was I had a wife, a stepdaughter, and a daughter. And I did not want my shortcomings, my mistakes to punish them for the rest of their lives because I couldn't get my act together. So when I connected my passion/purpose of wanting to help others into a conduit, into a strong connective bond with my why, which is my family, that kept me going when for so many sleepless nights. That's why our first best-selling book is titled Sleepless Nights, the NFL, a Business and a Family. I had so many sleepless nights because I was always stressed. I was always doing this. But I hope your listeners get this. When I was trying to get my business started, right, Olivia, back then, I was only focused on the money. That's it. I was focused on pay me, da 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 da, and things weren't happening. Today, I focus on the value. I live by one of the Bob Burg Go-Giver rules, the law of value, which states your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. And that really set the tone for us. And that really, really went well in that regard. So again, I hope your listeners understand when you're trying to pursue and achieve success, if you're money driven or money focused, you will eventually either burn out or worse yet, you'll never leave the start block.
I think that's really important. You're the value you want others to have in your service, in whatever you're doing, right? Whether it's your own company or you're working for other people, your passion and your value shines through. So, and it shines through in your work, how you treat others, in your personal life, just everything. And if you're not passionate about something, that's going to show just as much too.
Oh, absolutely, Lily, because here's the thing. People are not idiots, right? People can tell if you're trying to befriend them just for their money. I just told this to one of my clients today. I said, Patrick, you're wanting to advertise for your brand to be a speaker, right? He record episode with us. It comes out November 14th. I said, man, whatever you do is coming out awesome. I said, Patrick, our show now is in the top 1.5% in the world, and we're only about 2 or 3 points away from being in the top 1% in the world. And we're 4 months old. And we are have been streamed in 38 different countries in 4 months. The value is you've already been on our show. So I'll give you a opportunity to sponsor our show at a 50% discount. I'll give you an extra 2 months on the deal. So it's basically the sponsorship for 14 months. You can come back on our show every quarter, talk about your speaking. And this is a great way. You can run an ad on our show about your speaking, your brand, and that will really help you to gear up some marketing around getting hired to speak. And I told that because, Olivia, the day before, yesterday, we just booked a job in Louisville, Kentucky with Remax Premier Properties because we had Luke Andrews, who is a co-owner with his wife. They own it in Louisville. We had Luke on the show, our show, built a relationship, had one call, went great, laid the foundation, had our second call yesterday. We've been booked, have a third call in 2 weeks to discuss date, time. We've already got the fee agreed on, traveling lunch. And all we're doing now is picking the date. I'll come out for the day before, speak that next day, fly home, boom, here we go. And like I told Patrick, your value that you're going to get what you pay is going to far exceed what you pay out. Because that value of running ads on our show and coming back on our show and promoting your speaking business, when I just got hired, right, for a speaking job, for what he is going to pay me for the entire year, I'm getting paid more in an hour from Luke. Here we go. Right. And I told Patrick, I said, Patrick, I didn't come to you at the beginning saying, hey, man, why don't you sponsor our show, when I had no data, I had no following, I had no idea if it's going to work. Because if I did that, that would be looked at as desperate. Versus today, it is a business offering. One of my favorite movies is a movie called Ruthless People. Danny DeVito has a classic line. He said, never let the seller know you're hot to try. Okay. A bad salesman will automatically drop his price. He said, bad salesmen make me sick. And he's right. So like for me, my price is my price, right? I'm going to give you what I got, but I know the value you'll get back from me for what you pay me will be exponentially greater.
And I want to talk about that. We've known each other for a little bit now. We talk every day. I root for your success. Every day I wake up, I'm like, are we gonna hit a new country today? And I wait for that text to come through. And it's something where I'm like, Marques, with the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden show, you have created a community, something really special in that, where you just keep growing at a very fast rate. And it's unbelievable. And anyone listening to this should really tune into your show, because those stories and people you talk to are really unbelievable. What in, doing that show and talking about networking here, networking can be just as important as running your company. And how do you keep up with networking and building relationships with others, whether it's your clients and continuously building them up, or people you connect with, on a passing level, and so on?
So let's be clear about this. Networking is not as important as running your business. Networking is the most important part of running your business. 4 keys to successful business: marketing, aka networking, sales, operations, finance. What you have to do in the beginning, if you're just starting out, you have to excel at marketing and sales. Because if you can't afford to hire somebody, which I've been there and I understand, if you don't market or you don't sell, you don't have operations and you don't eat. So if you're trying to be an entrepreneur and you have no money, you need to excel at marketing and or sales, or barter and trade for someone in those areas, so then you can get business, right? And networking is the most important facet, just mentioned earlier. That's how we got booked for RE/MAX Premier Properties. If we didn't have the multi-format network, and I know they're your guys and Ben and the gang doing this amazing podcast that we now have, RE/MAX Premier Property job doesn't exist. We're very close to getting booked with a luxury real estate brand to speak next year in Italy. Without the podcast, it doesn't exist, right? So again, as an individual listening, marketing/networking is critical, right? And what you need to do is, as you build a little bit of finance, as you operate your business successfully, start hiring and, or again, if you don't have enough, bartering for key people, key components. Because again, if you don't have marketing, sales, operations, and finance down to the T, your business will struggle. You won't make it, because unfortunately, you're not going to be able to sustain. And like now with us, we have an external manager, we have an internal manager. We have, all these moving parts. And again, what my job is to network and to assist my team wherever it's needed. This way, they're operating at a super high level. That's my job. And I have to be the one, like we had a meeting yesterday, and I'm going to hope your listeners get this also. As a leader, it's my job to accept fault when things go wrong and protect others on my team. Even if they're in the fault, it's still, I need to protect them and it's my fault. So my web guy, we had a meeting yesterday and we were talking with our marketing person and the website color scheme was not done correctly. And I said, hold up, stop, wait a minute. Don't talk to him about that. That's me. That's my fault. I was not clear in that. As a result of that, he did not do what he should have done because I did not relate to him correctly what needed to be done. So please don't look at him and ask him questions about what's wrong with the website, what's wrong with the color scheme. Nothing's wrong with the website. Nothing's wrong with the color scheme. It was done to my asking. Now, what you're telling me is that we could have done it another way and we're going to make edits. Got it. But that's what a leader does. A leader will accept faults when he or she is wrong, but also a great leader protects the team in that regard as well.
And I think that's a key point. Leaders lead by example. And by leading by example, one thing you have to be able to do is accept fault and, not get in your own emotions about it, just accept it and protect the people who are supporting you. Because
correct.
You represent the team. And I think as a leader, you have to be able to pivot. Like you, in that example you showed, you have to be able to say, okay, is there a solution or is there another recommendation? What would you recommend? And I think something else that is important to recognize there too is when someone brings a problem, whether you have a problem with something that was done or you think it could be better, whether you're team lead or, in your personal life, bring a solution to the table. Don't just point out the mistake, but say, hey, this is a way we could fix it and move forward.
Correct. Great leaders, they create solutions to problems. Dictators look to shift blame and blame others for problems. And here's the thing. When a problem arises for a client, they don't give a damn whose fault it is. All they want to know is when and how soon can you get it fixed? That's it. That's all it comes down to. And once you're clear on that and you have that in your mind frame and your mindset, everything else takes care of itself. But you have to be man or woman enough to say, hey, I made a mistake, own it, fix it, move on. And again, that's where a lot of leaders I feel struggle today is they're looking to accept all of the success and all of the pretty stuff. When something goes wrong, they're looking to shift blame or find out who they can pass the buck to so they look like the hero in the whole process.
Right. And I think, something you just said about leaders and some leaders don't want to take the blame. But that really, when you don't want to take the blame, even for someone else's work, or it is your fault and you don't recognize it, you can't become better. When you stand up and say, I did this, here's a way to fix it, or what is your solution on moving forward, it opens the door for you to grow. And if you just try to always pass it off, you can't grow.
Correct. Growth only comes through our ability to deal with and be high performing under stress and pressure. It's like going to the gym. If you don't lift heavy weights, your muscles won't grow. If you do the same way all the time and don't change up the reps and the sets and the different exercises, you're not going to grow. Same thing in life. If every situation is perfect and there's no stress, none of that stuff, it's really an issue. So again, you have to be the individual that is going to what? Under pressure, grow and be cognitive, not emotional.
And that is a key point you just brought up too. Be cognitive, not emotional. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, the emotions come out. So when you're under stress or something's going wrong and you're trying to lead, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, how do you deal with that to make sure your emotions don't come out and be shown?
What I realize is that when whoever shows emotion in business is going to end up coming out on the wrong side of the spectrum. So I learned that at the end of the day, if I'm going to be successful in my personal and my professional life, I cannot allow emotion or bad vibes or bad juju to get me off my game. Because if I do, then I'm opening myself up to attack, either character attack or work attack or things of that nature. So I've learned that you have to be very cognitive and very well, well-rounded in life. Because if you're not, and you don't have good balance with your chi, bad things are going to happen.
And I think something to add to that the listeners should take out of that too, is sometimes you have to take a step back, and that's okay. And you're showing that in your story that you were just talking about. Take a step back. It's okay to do that, regroup, and then move forward. Because sometimes that needs to happen. We are all human. We all get emotions. We're passionate about things. But if you're not centered with your inner chi, how can you be the best you and be authentic? And I think that's something you really talk about on the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden show, is making sure, whether the ups and downs, you have a way to move forward.
Correct. Because if you don't know how to move forward through tough times, when life knocks you down, which it's going to knock you down, then you don't know how to react to it. And you're always going to do what? Look for people to blame for you not having success.
So, Marques, as a leader, how do you grow others around you? What do you try to install in your community and people you work with or people you meet?
Self-awareness and self-reliance. Because if you are not aware of what you're doing or not doing, you can never, ever be reliant on yourself when you need to push to the next level. So I tell people all the time, if you're not going to be self-aware and if you're not going to be self-reliant, then no matter what others try to do for you, it won't work. It won't stick. So you got to look at things and be very cognizant of what's going on around you and not look to, say it's somebody else's fault or they need to help me. Nobody owes you anything, right? Life owes you nothing. If you want something, you better go out and work for it. Otherwise, it's going to pass you right by.
And I think that is a very key point. You have to work for it. No one's going to hand you anything. And
correct.
When you take that away, that notion in your head, I deserve this, so I should have it. I deserve the promotion, so I should have gotten it, and it's someone else's fault. Or I deserve to have gotten the money to start my company, and the bank didn't give it to me, so I can't do anything about it. There's always a path forward. And sometimes you have to think outside the box. So in your life, personally or professionally, when situations like that arise, how do you think outside the box?
I always think about what is it that I'm doing and what is the end result that I want. So if I'm looking at something and I'm trying to figure out how to get it done, or if I'm having stress or a hard time and I'm trying to push through it, then I think about what is the end result. Like, for example, I'm trying to, adjust from some life situations I'm going through now, and something that I want to do, I'm going to have to probably wait till probably around April. And I'm thinking, well, if I look to do something and go into this opportunity in February, it'd be great to get out where I'm at, but it's like, it's not going to be for my long-term benefit. So the extra 3 months to wait for a potential of years of happiness is worth it. So instead of getting upset and off balance because I can't do what I want to by April, I'm trying to think, okay, well, if I go this route, if I do this and I do that, and I get to April, next thing you know, I can get into what I'm trying to get into, and then I can be in a happier space and life moves on. So I try to focus on the end result, not just what I have to get through and or go through at that current time.
And I think, as people like yourself, myself, we like to, an opportunity presents sometimes and you're like, you get so passionate about it. I know this for myself. I go 0 to 100 real fast. I'm like, okay. And Marcus, I'm like, okay, let's start a podcast. 6 weeks later, it's
Here you
launched
are.
and
Here you
and
are.
a company's built off of it. And when we talked in September, it would have never, I was like, okay, this is something that you could do and this and that. And you were giving me advice and, the steps you think you take and from the lessons you've learned and everything. And within 6 weeks, I was like, oh my God, yes, Marcus, you're right. Let's go forward. And, it's launched and it's doing well. But sometimes you have to say, okay, I want to do it now. I want people to see, and get the experience and be able to learn this content now. But long term, is it going to be sustainable? Is it like you have to make sure it's done right sometimes and take the slower path in order to meet your full potential rather than just saying, okay, let's do it right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's called APE. Anticipate, prepare, execute. Anticipate what the market has got going on or what you need. Prepare a strategy and or blueprint off that anticipation and that recon, and then execute the mission based upon the recon you've done and the plan you put into place. And that's what you're doing with the podcast. I did the podcast. I mean, I'm only what? 2.5, I'm only 4 months ahead of you. That's it. That is it. You launched just a week ago. I'm 4 months old. So I'm only really 3.5 to 4 months ahead of you with the podcast. That's it. So, which is great. You can see what I'm doing, what's working, what's not, and you have a really clear picture of where you want to go. So I hope your listeners get out of this is that in life, you're going to have to make some adjustments. You're going to have to make some tweaks and pivots, but doesn't mean you're going to change your value system. Your vision can change, but your values should never, ever change.
I think that was a really key point you just brought up. Your vision doesn't have to change, but sometimes your plan needs to adjust, it needs to grow. But where you want to get to doesn't have to just because the other things are taking slower or moving faster than you thought or this and that. There's things in life that you can't control, and that's okay. But as long as you have a purpose and a vision of where you want to be, doesn't matter the roadblock. You can get there.
Correct.
I think, you are such an inspirational story. You've hit success and you've gone back and forth sometimes, but you've always looked at your vision. You said, what is driving me? What is my passion? And sometimes when people lose their way or things aren't happening the way that they think they should, what would you say to them?
I would say that nothing in life that's worth anything usually happens the way you want it. Very rare. So if you're prepared for that and you already understand that, you'll be ready to what? Make pivots, make tweaks, make adjustments as times call for it.
And I think that's important. You have to be able to pivot because nothing in life is guaranteed. And
Nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Sometimes you've a set roadblock and, roadmap in your head. You're like, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way it's going to happen. And, things just happen, especially in a technology driven world. Hiccups can happen. That's no one's fault. You just can't control it. The internet could go down while doing a podcast. And you just have to say, okay, let's regroup. How can we move forward? And you can't control that, but you still have to be able to say, okay, let's solve it. Let's move past it and let's just keep going because this is what we want to do.
Agreed.
So, Marcus, with your podcast continuously growing every day, and as I say that, it's not even like I smile, because you and I both know that every day you're hitting new milestones. And pretty soon, I am not going to be surprised that it will be the number one show in the world. Every day it's just really hitting things that leaps and bounds. And what drives you in that? What makes you say, okay, this is happening, but I'm not going to take it as a moment of success, but not let it get to my head?
What drives me is that people from so many walks of life, different ethnicities, different cultures, different continents, different backgrounds, different social economic stability backgrounds, both genders, all type, people that are straight, people that are not, people that are white, people that are black, that are Asian, that are from Bulgaria to Denmark to all over, right? They love the theme. And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do, to get people from all walks of life loving the same theme. So what drives me every day and keeps me humble is that I'm just in awe of so many people that love the theme. And what people say to me, which I even love more, is they never know who is going to come out. So like earlier this week, we had Dr. Gigi Hamilton, a very well-renowned therapist and Army veteran. Today, Howard and Sammy Kay, a very successful father and son duo from Boca Raton, Florida, that are in the insurance business. And next week we've got Stasia, who is a hypnotherapist. And then next Friday we've got Anthony Hines, who started this awesome business, Fusion Claims, partners. And then the next week we've got my friend Patrick Yankee, who is a speaker on leadership. Like, you never know. You never know. So the point for this is that you can never have a big head when you keep just getting shell shocked with people loving your podcast and your show. And it's just every day. So for me, until the day I'm gone, it's always going to blow my mind, our numbers, our growth, because I'm just stunned how many people love what we're putting out.
Well, and I think that's an important aspect to highlight there. Is there's an underlying theme that everyone can relate to. And it is great sometimes to be in a niche, where it's one kind of audience. And if you could excel in that niche, that's great. But it is just as great, not if greater, the reward you can get by impacting anyone and everyone. And I think that's what you're doing. And it's really important, I think, for people to understand is everyone could connect on some level. And there's always stories. You never know what the person next to you is going through or what they've been through and how someone else's journey can impact them in moving their life forward and just going on their own journey. And has there been anyone that has done that for you throughout, your life's your ups and downs, that you look back now and go, wow, in that moment in time, I didn't realize the impact it would have on me today?
Yeah. So of course, my father, and I didn't think about all the time that he was telling me about how important it was to develop social skills. And I didn't really realize that. And it made me become an individual who got better at talking to people, communicating with people. And also my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, always felt I would be doing something with speaking, and I never knew what. And it's interesting, think about what she embarked on me and my father embarked on me and where I'm at today. It makes perfect sense why I'm speaking, consulting, coaching, podcasting. I had two ladies that are friends of mine from the gym this morning. They've been listening to my podcast as a couple of days ago. They said, wow, Marques, you're a very accomplished speaker. You're very good at communicating. And it comes across just very authentic and genuine. And we love your message. And they had no idea that I was a speaker because I don't really put it out there like that. But it just goes to show that communication is one of the biggest forms of livelihood. So for me, it'll be my father and my grandmother without a doubt.
And now looking at the skills that you've gotten over the years, right? So your communication skills, your social skills, some of those been harder than others to obtain and keep. When you don't want to do something or you're put in a situation where it might be more difficult to do it. How do you push forward?
So I try to look at opportunity and I try to focus on, what drives me and also try to focus on what I am good at. And for that standpoint, it gets me to think about how I can create different opportunities for myself, for my network, for my friends. And as a result, that moves me in a different direction going forward. So that's something I'm really big on. Is important to me is the ability to connect and to create opportunities for myself, my network, and help them achieve success in all that they do.
And I think there was a key point you brought up there. Sometimes you have to look at the end goal because not everyone's going to want to be sociable 100% of the time. Or, not everyone wakes up and is like, I want to talk to people today. Even if you're a talkative person like myself, there's days I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do this today. I don't want to deal with people. But sometimes you have to, whether you want to or not, you have to put your best foot forward and regroup and say, okay, what's the goal? What am I supposed to be doing today? And how can I achieve that? And sometimes people who aren't comfortable in situations, when you take a step back and say, what am I trying to achieve and how will this help me? It makes you refocus and say, okay, I can do this. And that is very important.
Agreed. Because if you can focus on the task at hand, then what happens is you're able to execute the task at hand. And it all starts with your ability to really put yourself in that main frame of trying to really be an individual that can always execute whatever is needed to at that time.
And that's a great point. So, Marques, how can people get in touch with you in order to connect with you?
They can go to our website, www.marques, Ogden, Ogden.com, or shoot me an email, marques@marquesogden.com, and connect with us. We love to chat with you, and also listen to our podcast, the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden show. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, Pandora, Amazon, YouTube. Check us out and let us know what you think.
So, Marques, a few key takeaways that we discussed today and that you brought up that I think are really important for people to hear is you are connecting your passion with your why. You have to connect the two in order to succeed and do what you want to do and do it correctly. Focus on the value you're trying to do and not just the money aspect of it. As well as networking is as important as running your business. You can't grow without the foundation, without the community, without the people who want your service, your business, whatever it might be. And the last thing I think we should go over here is have self-awareness. You have to be able to be self-aware and be able to know what's going on and pivot when needed. This was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Marques Ogden. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.